Hello, and welcome to Songwriters Spotlight, the Western Mass Songwriters Collaborative Series. I'm Dr. Dan, your host of the show, where we feature Western Mass songwriters who perform their original songs and talk about the art of songwriting. Stay tuned to explore more about music and the tunesmithing that creates it. Our performer in this episode is Michael Orlen, a veteran musician and songwriter whose performance displays his skill and experience as an artist. I give you Michael Orlen.
Hi there. This song is called Flowering Crab. It gets its name from a tree planted beside the 4th tee at the Amherst Golf Club. If you ever happen to be there, it's the tree with the collection of ceramic frogs under it. The sun came up this morning just like any other day to start a lazy slide across the sky. Workmen in their coveralls, other passers-by, those of us who'd come to say goodbye. I wonder how he would have liked this January day. I can almost hear the shuffle of his feet, dancing to a different tune, a different drum at least. Then in the end, just dancing with the beast. About our daily lives, commitment and career. Sometimes hard to say the things we mean. Now and then I think about a friend who once was here. Now and then indeed. I'll plant a tree where I can sit and watch the sun go by. Celebrate a January sky. I'll keep him in my memory for all the passers-by and everyone who comes to say goodbye. Over the years, I've written many songs for assigned themes at the Pioneer Valley Folklore Society. This is one of those songs. When I first got the theme was change. I thought, no. Earth tilts one way, the ice pack goes. Everything greens up nicely. Earth tilts the other way, before you know, you're out there shoveling your driveway. That's just something I observed is true. I don't let it change the things I do. If you keep on playing, eventually you're gonna win. That's the basket all of my eggs are in. Downtown waiting for the train when my ship comes in. You just gotta forgive me for all this acting strange. It's much too late to change. Meantime, I just complain about the weather. At least I'm doing something. Lightning, wind, hail, freezing rain, whatever. I'm only sure of one thing. I'm not here to raise the bar for you. Don't you let me change the things you do. If you keep on playing, eventually you're gonna win. That's the basket all of my eggs are in. If I'm downtown waiting for the train when my ship comes in, you just gotta forgive me for all this acting strange. It's much too late to change. So don't look for hidden meaning here. Don't read between the rhymes. Just a half dozen wires, a wooden box, and a pencil out of its mind. And one or two things I've observed is true. I don't let them change the things I do. If you keep on playing, eventually you're gonna win. That's the basket all of my eggs are in. If I'm downtown waiting for the train when my ship comes in, you just gotta forgive me for all this acting strange. It's much too late to change. So if I'm downtown waiting for the train when my ship comes in, you gotta forgive me for all this acting strange. It's much too late to change. This is a pretty song. Typical kids in a typical time, in a typical New England town, with all of our power, all of our promise, all of our defenses down. No thought of college or war, and no knowledge of failure to get in our way. Whether your life and mine ever find the same page, I'll be thinking of you as I age. Typical girl, typical boy, typical Saturday dance. And you so appealing, and me with the feeling of falling in love at first glance. No way to know where the future would go, or that this might be ending one day. Whether your love and mine ever find the same page, I'll be thinking of you as I age. I'll be thinking of you while I'm lying at night in the spell of a September sky. The words will be there on the tip of my tongue, but no one to hear them nearby. Typical kids in a typical time, and a feeling that won't go away. Whether your act and mine ever find the same stage, I'll be thinking of you as I age. Whether your act and mine ever find the same stage, I'll be thinking of you as I age. I've probably told this story 100 times. Some time ago, I was writing a song about underdogs, and I got to the chorus and 3 examples came to mind. 1, religious, and 2, in sports. But one of the sports underdogs I thought was very obscure until a few weeks back during the U.S. Open when it was played in Brookline, Massachusetts. The story was retold by every announcer just time and time again. Probably dozens of times. You see, back in 1913, the greatest golfer on the planet was an Englishman named Harry Vardon, who came to Brookline that year to compete in our U.S. Open, where he was soundly defeated by a young man, a caddy, who lived across the street. That young caddy's name, Francis Ouimet. I know what you're thinking. I know how you feel. You spend your days pushing a rock up a hill. And just when you've made it, just when you're through, seems there's always a faster dog than you. Remember Goliath and David, Vardon, we met. How the Baltimore Orioles met the 69 Mets. The arrows of fortune will fall where they may. A dog'll have his day. I know you've been thinking you've no way to turn, no way to cash in the things that you've learned. But you're always the cowboy struggling through, always facing a bigger dog than you. I know that this isn't my best written song. It's good to be right, I don't mind being wrong. I just thought you might need to hear someone say, you can take that bigger dog today. Goliath and David, Vardon, we met. How the Baltimore Orioles met the 69 Mets. The arrows of fortune will fall where they may. A dog'll have his day. The arrows of fortune will fall where they may. A dog'll have his day. Girl in high school, sweetest little thing. I gave her my heart, my letter. I gave her my high school ring. Hair as soft as anything, skin as smooth as silk. Some girls age like vintage wine, my girl age like milk. That's what I'm talking about. Bad news. The river is rising and I'm up to my nuts in the blues. I know the world is ending. I've seen all the clues, that's what I'm talking about. Bad news. I left home and hit the road, dirty, drunk, and wild. Then I thought I'd better find a safer lifestyle. Then I met and hooked up with the sweetest little gal. Settled down and bought a home in a place called Love Canal. That's what I'm talking about. Bad news. The river is rising and I'm up to my nuts in the blues. I know the world is ending. I've seen all the clues. That's what I'm talking about. Bad news. I get off of this mountain, you know where I'm gonna go. Gonna buy myself a lottery ticket, you know how that'll go. Do yourself a favor, get yourself in line. Buy a lottery ticket, the one right after mine. That's what I'm talking about. Bad news. The river is rising and I'm up to my nuts in the blues. I know the world is ending. I've seen all the clues. That's what I'm talking about. Bad news. That's what I'm talking about. Bad news. There are people out there who will harm you. Words are their weapon of choice. Obstacles you may run into, hide in the smoke and the noise. Well, I'm not complaining, so don't get me wrong. I'm just staring off into the blue. One day you're sitting on top of the world. Next day you're playing to lose. But if I could fly, Amelia, I've seen all the cities, I've seen all the towns. But if I could fly, Amelia, I'd never return to the ground. There were times that I needed more focus than time would allow. Times that I needed more courage, no time more pressing than now. I'll be keeping my eyes on the western horizon, chasing the sun across the sky, forgetting the sound of my life on the ground in less than the wink of an eye. If I could fly, Amelia, I've seen all the cities, I've seen all the towns. But if I could fly, Amelia, I'd never return to the ground. I'll be keeping my eyes on the western horizon, chasing the sun across the sky, forgetting the sound of my life on the ground in less than the wink of an eye. If I could fly, Amelia, I've seen all the cities, I've seen all the towns, but if I could fly, Amelia, I'd never return to the ground. And thank you.
You just heard some brilliant performances by Michael Orlen. I appreciate that very much.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So great songs and great performances too, but which is exactly what I expected. So
it could have gone either way, believe me.
Well, thank you, nevertheless. So you've obviously practiced a lot, and yeah.
I do play a lot, yeah.
Yeah, and for some time now. When did you start writing and performing?
I started, probably writing and performing about the same time in 1967. I had played guitar for about a year at that point, and the first songs that I can remember having written are right around then. Mm-hmm. Don't ever ask me to do them, but they weren't my best work.
So what got you started?
Well, that's kind of funny. It's songwriting is tough. It's not necessarily fun. I think, as I told you before, it's a lot like weightlifting. It's hard work. It hurts, but if you know the result you want, there's only one way to get it, and that's whether you want a hard body or a good song. You've got to work at it, and I do enjoy seeing the results of the work. Mm-hmm.
So where were you when you first started performing your songs?
Oh, in the Granby, South Hadley, Holyoke area, mm-hmm. Really right around here. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until 1968 that I moved to Boston and began playing there. Mm-hmm. So so what kinds of places did you perform? Around Western Mass?
Yeah.
Well, little coffee houses. Yeah. There was no money in it, certainly, but there were a lot of little coffee houses, a lot of opportunity, and of course I needed a lot of practice. Mm. So it worked out.
Well, that paid off, no question about it. So what time in your career did you do the most performances?
Well, the most performances probably back in, I'm thinking back in the late 70s or the mid 70s, I guess. That's 1970s. When I actually worked, 5 nights a week, really. Hmm. And, and later on a little less. Mm-hmm. But certainly I've always worked quite a bit until, I think I worked a lot until about 1980 and put it away for a while. Mm-hmm. So in the 70s, you were in Boston, is that? I was in Boston until about, 71, I guess. Mm-hmm. 1970 or 71, yeah.
And you came back here and started
playing here. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, nice. Okay, so some of your songs were inspired by songwriting challenges. You noted one song in particular.
Yeah. Well, I started, the hardest part, I think, of writing a song is getting it started, getting the first idea. What are you writing about? There are people that sit down with a piece of paper for days and never know what their song's going to be about. And I just found that if somebody told you to write a song about X, you would just start. And it seemed a lot easier. So I began taking the monthly themes of the Pioneer Valley Folklore Society as a homework assignment. And I would write a song, bring it in the next month and show it off. And before you know it, I was on to the next one.
Mm-hmm. So did they provide feedback as well, suggestions or inspirations?
They provided the theme, basically. And as far as feedback, well, yeah, there was feedback the following month when you performed it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because some people have benefited from belonging to songwriting clubs or
sure.
business, but in this case, it was just getting the inspiration.
Yeah. I've been involved in a couple of them, a couple of songwriting organizations, and in fact, along with Sue Krantz, briefly we ran one up in Turners Falls. And that's an interesting thing too, because people do leave with an idea of what their next song is going to be about. So,
okay, so who are some of the people who inspired your songwriting?
I was very fortunate to grow up in a place like Western Mass, where there was a club that brought in some of the best singer-songwriters of the era. And it was in Springfield, a club called the Pesky Sarpent, where I saw songwriters like Patrick Skye, Eric Anderson, Carl Watanabe, just tons and tons of songwriters. You know, every night of the week, every week of the year, there were new songwriters brought in. So, was there any particular artist who push you in a direction or help you? Well, I certainly like the ragtime work of Dave Van Ronk and Patrick Skye, and the songwriting of Eric Anderson, Carl Watanabe.
Yeah, definitely some great wordsmiths there. And then you were also inspired by some of the greats, right?
Yeah, later on I began to listen to more and more different music, especially once I moved to Boston, because music in Boston was really different then in 1968. WBCN had just come on the air, and until 1968 they were a classical music station, and they started playing 24 hours of rock and roll without commercials, and that affected everyone with a radio. So all of a sudden I was inspired by rock and roll musicians and some pop musicians. Musicians like the Bryants, Brian Wilson. I was a fan of Brian Wilson, I think, long before I picked up the guitar. But certainly there were a lot of people in Boston, a lot of local songwriters that I was inspired by, guys like Kenny Gerard and Paul McNeil, a couple of brilliant songwriters.
So what kinds of things did they do that helped you think about your songwriting?
It wasn't until I was in Boston in 1968 that I learned about the importance of the bridge. And guys like Paul McNeil were just so far ahead of me. Just really wrote terrific songs, very well constructed, from verse to chorus to bridge and out. They were just phenomenal songs. And those were the songs I wanted to learn how to write.
Okay. So it gave you kind of an ideal for what you wanted to be.
It did, yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. So what topics do you like to write about?
I'll write about almost anything. I don't much care. I write goofy songs. I write love songs. I write songs about history. There are things that I won't write about. For example, I don't write anything political or anything religious. Political songs, no matter how good you think they are, no matter how good they actually are probably pissing off as many people as enjoy them. And that's not the direction I want to take songwriting. And I consider religious songs about the same. You know, there are certainly some of the greatest melodies ever written are religious. But I think they really belong in church, where people who with the same beliefs get to hear them. taking them to the public just introduces them to people with who won't like them. And it doesn't seem my purpose as a songwriter to write songs that 50% of the people out there aren't going to like.
Right. Okay. So, so apart from the the topics vary tremendously. Are there ways to describe your songwriting that you would, suggest to someone?
Oh, what would I say to another songwriter?
Yeah.
Work hard. I'm reminded of that quote by John David Souther, who said, "A songwriter should tell the truth, if not, a very good lie."
Yeah.
And of course, that reminded me of something that Mark Twain said, that the truth is good, but a lie is better because it has to be.
Yeah, I have a feeling that the songs you did for us on this performance, not all of them were exactly true. So,
Probably not. There are moments of truth in some of them, I'm sure.
Right. Oh, absolutely. But yeah, there's some a lot of fantasy, and very interesting fantasy.
There's a little of that, yeah.
Yeah.
Possibly some humor.
Yeah. No question about that. So once you have an idea and you're sitting down, you have an assignment from the Pioneer Valley Folklore Society, how does the song come together for you?
Well, I can remember hearing songwriters say, the song just came to me, wrote itself. And that must feel really good, I guess. Mine don't come like that.
Yeah.
I don't sit down and write. Some of my best songs have come to me inside a motorcycle helmet. 70 miles an hour inside a motorcycle helmet, thinking of a song and thinking of lyrics and chords. Lyrics, chords, and melodies. And once I've got something, I take it to a guitar and figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some people have difficulty remembering what it is they wrote.
That can happen.
Yeah.
Especially the older we get, but certainly, it doesn't hurt to scribble things down, I guess. But I tend to really have something before I write it down. And writing it down is it's more the process of finishing it than the process of writing it.
Okay.
And the music is usually already there. I already have it. I already know the changes. I already know the melody by the time I get to a piece of paper.
Yeah, I think that's somewhat unusual. A lot of people, get the words and work on the melody, or they get the melody and find words to go with it, but you say they come at the same time.
Yeah, I've done that, but I don't anymore. There's I'm trying to think of there's a song I wrote that I found the lyrics to possibly 10 or 12 years after I wrote them. And it was, I can't think of the name of the song, but it turned out to be a really good song. If I had a melody and all in mind when I wrote the words, I had no idea what that was by the time I found it. I had to, so I guess I could put words to music, but I really choose not to. I really choose to do everything at once. You're more likely to have a melody that fits the lyric if you do them both at the same time. And there are times perhaps when you don't want a melody to fit the lyric, or you don't want the timing to fit the lyric. There are sadder songs that are done quickly that I really like. I think the first song I did tonight was kind of a sad song, but it's played happily. And yeah, I don't, that's basically the way I write. Everything has to be around at once. And I know that I've said that it's hard work and it's like lifting weights, but sometimes it all isn't. Sometimes it comes a little easier than that. And as I said, inside of a motorcycle helmet works very well for me.
I'll have to get myself a motorcycle.
That's it. Or just
advice.
a helmet and something to make noise.
Yeah. Neat. Are there other things that you'd like to tell other songwriters about, in addition to Souther? And
Well, just work hard at it and get things right. And when they're right, just get away from them and get on to the next one. That way you can go back and enjoy the song if you're not rewriting it or if you're not trying to improve it all the time. You can enjoy the song as if it were someone else's. And it's important to lay out a song like that and respect it just as a song, not necessarily as something you're still working on.
yeah. Have you ever written a song and then gone back a year or two later and said, maybe I should tweak it a little bit? Is that? Or...
Well, I have. Yes, I have. Certainly done that. I rewrote a couple of old songs that were worth saving and that had parts worth saving. But yeah, every song you write isn't going to be good. And there are songs, I've written a bunch of songs that I just wind up in a drawer somewhere, and I always remember them, and I steal from them. The best plagiarism going is stealing parts of your old songs. There's a song that I wrote for the Connecticut River Watershed Council that says, "I just want the Connecticut," and a song, "and a dog I won't outlive." Now, you've heard that song.
That's a beautiful song.
Yeah. Well, I wrote a song ways before that I didn't like. I wrote it about a guitar. And there was a line in it that said, "I just want this old guitar and a song and a dog I won't outlive." And I loved the line, but the song was awful. So what else are you going to steal from?
Right.
So I've got a number of those, a number of songs that have lines taken out of, songs that I didn't care for, that had much I did care for.
Yeah, and stay out of legal trouble, too.
Yes.
Oh, nice. So, anything you'd like to add to our viewers?
Yes. Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah. It was very easy to listen to.
Well, thank you very much.
Very enjoyable. And thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Okay.
It's be very helpful.
Dan?
Yeah, thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Thanks for watching our show. I would like to acknowledge the support of the Western Mass Songwriters Collaborative, promoting the original music scene in Western Massachusetts. If you want to learn more about the WMSC, go to their Facebook page. Thanks for watching. I'm Dr. Dan. I hope you'll tune in again for the show that puts a spotlight on songwriters.